Hey everybody, and welcome to my video. This is Andrews from Reality Gaming, and this video is a spliced video of footage from over the last day within Reality Gaming. We've recently opened up our Liberation server on Livonia, which is the new Arma 3 contact map from the DLC. A really good map. Some really interesting gameplay. Before I go into that, I'm going to run down Liberation and what you do. And if you look on the screen here, you'll actually see there is a deployment menu that's popping up, and this allows you to deploy in certain areas. We're actually using a virtual arsenal, which is allowing us to kit up in all different types of outfits and choose any of the kits we want to use. The map is quite vast. There's lots of different objectives to overcome and rewards. You start at your operational base, and as you can see here, you can deploy from a halo jump, a redeploy, select the arsenal, and have a few other options at base. The KP player menu allows you to sort things like your view distance, etc. Tweak the game to your graphical settings and needs. I believe some of this information is also set by the server, but it's nice to have those options as well. Just on board now with Talon, flying in with some of the boys. This was during the daytime. Very beginning of the map, I understand. This has only been going on within the community for a couple of days. I think it's actually worth noting it does have persistency. So we can engage in the enemy operations, clear sectors, and then come back the following day when we have time and basically carry on from where we left off. So that's one of the great things about Liberation, but I'll come back to that. I don't want to go too much into Contact or the new map Livonia itself, because I might do a separate video about that later. This is myself and some of the Gambler infantrymen moving through the woods here, and Captain Snapcon on the radio talking to the troops and organising us to push west. Now basically, once you start Liberation, as I mentioned, you'll come to the screen. There'll be two prompts: join the fight or how to play. If you're new, I'd certainly recommend visiting how to play first, since it'll gloss over everything much faster than I can on the video. However, it is still insufficient to some people, and that's why I'm creating this video, just to go over some of the finer aspects of Liberation. But once you do hit that Join to Fight button, you'll be sent to a spawn selection screen, which will also show up anytime you die or choose the redeploy option, available near FOBs and HQs, mobile respawn units. If you have saved any loadouts in the virtual arsenal, you can choose to spawn with one of them using the drop down menu here, but each of your weapons will lose a piece of ammo due to how the script works, unfortunately. We also had some issues with scopes disappearing during our playthrough, but I'm not sure if that's unique to Contact, Liberation, or the script that they're using. You can choose to spawn at base or anywhere else, or an FOB if it's been established. This is good if you're jumping in and you've already got a forward element out there. You're able to deploy with your team. Sometimes it can be risky. So I mean, what is Lib? It's a great way to experience Arma. It's a great way to play the game. I really enjoy it. I know our members have enjoyed this through many generations of RG, going back all the way to when we were founded. We've always had a Domination or Liberation server. I think Domination was the first incarnation of that. And yeah, I mean, it's just a great game, guys. But the area has essentially fallen to the enemy, and it's up to us to take it back. We're going to embark on a persistent campaign. We've been doing this now for a few days. If you're interested, you're very welcome to come along and join us. and it's all on the new island of Contact, which means we get to experience every real aspect of that particular island within battle, and then we can use that within our own gameplay and organisation of what we do at RG, which is the Sunday operations. That's every Sunday at 7 PM. We can't actually use this particular map at the moment because not all of our community have the Contact DLC, and until the future we're not going to make it mandatory. So what's been really interesting is combating the aggressive and cunning hostile forces that react to our actions within the jungle here, or forest, sorry. And a lot of the time you really get a feeling for what's going on. The combat's aggressive, they're steady, moving around. There's some kind of scripts that are fascinating within Arma at the moment, and we're really enjoying that level of gameplay. There's a lot of meaningful objectives as well that you can accomplish within the game that benefit your progression. You never lose your progress with our built-in server system. I mean, it's fantastic. So without going into too much detail about Contact is another expansion for Arma 3 released on the 25th of July 2019. When it first was released, it was really seen as a bit of a gimmick, I think. Not many people enjoyed it, but it's really grown on the community and people have started to enjoy the game. It certainly brought a few people back. I'll just flash up the stats there to show that people are actually playing this game, and it's nice to have a DLC to bring people back every now and again. It's set in the fictional Eastern European country of Livonia in the form of a new 163 kilometer squared map. The DLC brings 2 new factions, the Livonian Defense Force and the Russian Spetsnaz, although I thought they've always been in Arma.
Guns up, moving in.
Along with new weapons and equipment. Single player campaign, first contact, military science fiction. As I mentioned before, 163 kilometers of terrain, 2 factions, 5 weapons, the prominent assault rifle, the RPK-12 light machine gun, the AKU-12 carbine, the MK-14 classic hunting rifle, and the Coslice shotgun. 2 additional vehicles have been added. ED1 Mini UGV, multiple variants,
I think we bagged him, that guy that fired on us. He's
and
down.
a tractor, just in case you didn't already have enough of those in Arma. The gear is CBRN clothing, masks and backpacks, got a Spectrum device, radio backpack, blindfold, and tinfoil hat. I'm not sure how we can build that content into a mission, but we'll find a way. Multiplayer scenarios,
Roger
we've
that.
got Livonia, Zeus, Games Master, Combat Patrol and Warlords, that's a nice selection. And free bonus content, that's the NATO Woodland Camouflage.
All right,
Civilian
guys, just treat your
clothing
wounds and keep your eyes
and
and ears
100
open.
plus
Call out any
decorative
contacts
props and
you've got.
terrain objects and more. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I
nice
really don't want
vehicle,
to
guys.
review the whole Contact
Welcome here, boys.
DLC. I haven't had a chance to experience it yet, but it's nice to know what we're able to implement into this new version of Liberation. Maybe we can build in some of those Contact playthroughs, etc. I mean, the good things, the really good things about this map is the great and varied landscape. It's got a lot of vegetation. Some really nice rolling fields. Reminds me of Cell, if you ever played that back in Arma 2, or any other countryside-based Arma 3 map. It's really nice for firefights. I used to enjoy a lot of the firefights in Afghan patrol missions I'm just trying to think of the name of the actual map. It wasn't Takistan, but there was a map. I think it's Klafgan. There was a map where there was some amazing firefights that were conducted in open field poppy fields. Really good, because the AI, it's not nice fighting them in build-up areas most of the time. They can be a little bit X-ray vision when it comes to trees and objects. So the more open fields we've got to level out the playing field, the better. And most of the time the guys will set up sandbags and their own defensive positions. So yeah, lots of vegetation and variety. Spectacular environment and sound design. Really noticed some great sounds while playing in the forest areas. I keep wanting to say jungle, it's so built up. In these dense forest areas, really nice sound design from Bohemia. And particularly in the forest at night, there's a certain bird that was in some of the jungle maps. Some of the jungle maps that were designed for Viet Cong and the Vietnam era missions.
Scratch 2 here.
And also an amazing array of sounds. You can hear so much in the forest at night. They've done a really good job on the spectacular environmental sound design here. Very, very good.
But nothing, I don't want to breach that, it's open cover with smoke.
So yeah, that's pretty much it with regards to contact, what's available within the DLC, and a very small review on the map. I would like to go over what I didn't like. There was some horrific optimization around large urban areas where my computer sometimes struggled to hold 35 FPS. I do play on Ultra, but it was really difficult to hold 35 FPS in some of those areas. But that goes for all Arma operation maps, missions. We always find that the more numbers we have in those build-up areas, and Otanawa is literally one of the most terrible areas to play multiplayer missions on within the city. Overpowering daytime sound sometimes. I've just mentioned the sound design's amazing, but sometimes during the day it's just a bit too much. There's pretty bad ground cluttering and popping, but that's based on performance and computers more or less. And the night lighting can be a little bit extreme. We played some of the operations in the dark without the moon, and the illumination was barely 5 meters in front of us with a torch. I know we had some issues with the night vision as well, but that could just come down to tweaking the game mechanics and what we're actually doing in terms of operations at night and the equipment we have available to us.
Sorry, lad.
On a neutral terms, I mean, it's just yet another map, guys. I mean, where everyone lives in a limited range, ramshackle 19th century huts, decaying Soviet era buildings. Not a single modern building on the map. Those hoping for an essentially remastered Chinaris are going to be a little bit disappointed, I think. And there's no furniture on the whole map. Not that that means much to anybody, but no furniture, you know what I mean, guys. So nowhere to sit down and rest your bones. What's the thoughts on Arma 3 and Contact after Arma being out for so long? Well, it just honestly seems just like BI's trying to keep both of their games relevant and continue to generate some revenue until they can get a new product out. I mean, Arma 3 has been out for nearly 7 years now. It's a hell of a long time to be playing the same game, Bohemia. But we have faith, and Arma 4 will be on the horizon at some stage. We've had some posts in the community about it as well. But it seems as if they're just buying time for development. That's all. So until that happens, we'll just have to wait and see. Background. Some information on the map and the background of the map. So Livonia wasn't originally created for the Contact DLC at all. It was the prototype terrain for the Infusion engine as Enoch. Creative director Ivor Buchter gave a talk about Livonia's history and how the story in the recent Game Dev Days gathering in Austria. There's no video available for the actual chat yet, but Bohemia Interactive is supposedly in a great place these days. They are no longer a one-trick pony, but are still far smaller than most of the other larger game studios, and they're not doing any indie games. Arma is still their main jam and will continue to be through to the next version, we hope. The money and focus goes into Arma as dedicated Arma players through the generations since Flashpoint myself. I've been committed to the series. I really want to see that next generation of Arma so we can launch reality gaming into that sphere.
Good. More visuals. Some movement there. Nice hits.
So, you know, BI have always been very good at recycling things, and since they are limited in resources, they are pretty creative in reusing assets across all their product lines. DayZ comes from Arma 2, Argo came from Arma 3, etc. Also be aware it takes about 2 full years to create a presentable Arma 3 terrain, if it's your day job obviously. Doing one in your spare time can take a lot longer. Panthura and other maps that were designed by Icebreaker were massive undertakings that took him years and years to create. Shout out to Icebreaker, by the way. As it happens, Enoch uses the Infusion engine. It's a version of the buildings from Chernarus to reduce the time needed to get the operational terrain for developing Infusion itself. Contact didn't feel right being introduced on terrains already familiar to the Arma community, so Arma and BI decided to fix up Enoch to reduce the time and effort needed for the DLC. Now BI has rejigged Enoch, Livonia, for DayZ operations, significantly reducing the time and effort to releasing a new terrain DLC. See a pattern yet? This might possibly pave the way for a new version of Arma 3, Chernarus Plus, or even Arma 4. How many people do you think would pay good money for that? I don't see any reason to complain about the cost of BI products or source of their content. It's all good for the community in so many ways. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people were up in arms about Contact and the new map. We seem to have put it to good use here. Reality gaming are still going tremendously strong in 2020. We're using all the assets that are available to us within Arma, within the DLCs, and we're having a great deal of fun. And that is it, guys. So I really hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I hope you understand a little bit more about Liberation and how to play it within Arma 3. And I hope that the video gave you a little bit of an insight into Contact and what the new map is like, whether it's worth buying and whether or not to be interested.
Understand grid 00401.
Gonna leave you guys with this bit of footage here of myself and the boys being a bit silly. This is after official Wednesday's training, a bit of downtime and cooling off. Thanks to the guys, we managed to do a lot of testing and bug testing for the up and coming missions and assets we'll be using. And this is Captain Stabcon's treat for the troop. Everyone having a bit of fun in Arma. So just wanting to send big hellos out there to all friends and everyone that supports reality gaming. Big thanks to the members and the mods and the staff, and I will see you guys in battle. Have a great one, guys. This is Andrews signing off.
Just to see if anyone will need them, and yeah, about I think it was Vegas or Caesar in the
Courtesy of Stabcon, thank you.
It's just baby as well.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
There's a link in the description for the mission file. Please rate, comment and subscribe. Cheers dudes.